Jefferies.
All right. This is exciting.
It is exciting. This is a good time for you. The Jim Jefferies Show premieres Tuesday nights, 10:30 on Comedy Central. But you were just telling me you're not exactly sure.
I'm not exactly sure what the show is because the news hasn't happened. Yeah. Like, I know what sort of the second act and the third act's going to be because we've vaguely written no scripts and we have a field piece that we've put in the first episode, so that's already recorded, obviously. But the first act has to be sort of what happened in the last sort of 48 hours. So we're going to start working on it sort of tomorrow, the first act, and Monday, and hopefully we'll have it ready in time.
But a lot of it is going to be you around the world, right?
Yeah, all the field pieces are going to be international. So
Yeah.
on the first episode, we're doing a field piece where we went to Holland and we recorded a thing on a character called Black Pete over there, which I don't know if you know much about Holland, but Holland's basically, in my mind, probably the most socially forward-thinking society on earth. You know, prostitution, drugs, gay marriage. You want to live your life, you live it how you please. But at Christmas time, they have Santa Claus, and then they have Santa's helper called Black Pete, who's just a person in blackface, and it's not just one of them; thousands of them line the street. And here's the deal: if you're a good kid, Santa will give you gifts. If you're a bad kid, Black Pete will put you in a sack and take you to Spain. And they don't see this as racist in any way. The kids all have blackface, and they go, "Oh, you know, it's just a fun little tradition that," and it's not like just not like a little bit of blackface. It's like a curly wigs involved, like big jewelry and stuff like that. And now they're trying to back away from the no, it's not Santa's slave. They go, what it is it's he goes down the chimney before Santa Claus, and that's why he's black. Like they're trying to. So now they're changing it to Chimney Pete. That's what they call him now. And also, I don't even understand why it has to be called Black Pete. Just call him Pete. We get the gist of what you're doing, Holland. So we're doing that's going to be on the first episode. We did a piece on the Great Barrier Reef. We went out to Australia and we looked at that because that's all but dead. We went to Slovenia to go to Melania Trump's hometown, and man, I got to hand it to her. I'd suck an old man's dick to get out of that town. You know, I think it went a little bit further than she wanted it to go. I don't think she wanted to live in the White House, but I understand the premise behind getting out of there.
That's almost like the Slovenia. Is that the name?
Slovenia, a town called Savinska or something like that. And Slovenia is like, how do I sugarcoat this? It's shit, right?
Yeah.
It's shit. Like Slovenia, like her hometown is a 2-hour drive. You can go to Venice. Why wouldn't you fucking go to Venice?
Right, yeah.
Like, why would you? Like, basically, that's shitty. It's without the canals. It's shitty Italy. That's what Slovenia is.
Shittily. But it's almost like that's her version of Black Pete. Is Trump has grabbed her and pulled her off to D.C.
Well, we went over there because she sent her lawyers in basically stopping, because when the election went through, a few people did the old, here's the Melania hamburger, here's Melania t-shirts, and they sent the lawyer's name in going, you can't put the Trump name on anything at all in this little tiny town because, you know, Trump isn't associated with shit products.
So you'll have these pieces, and then it's going to be you in the studio talking about the news. And
look, it's, you know, I'm not going to lie to you and say it's a completely new spin on these type of shows. No, it's the same as like if someone wants to say that I've ripped off Samantha Bee or John Oliver or something like that, well, they ripped off the Daily Show, and the Daily Show ripped off the news, and the Daily Show ripped off the news report on SNL. You know, so the big difference will be, as I said, that it's going to be more international. It's going to be more of a think piece, like similar to, you know how you got like those shows on Fox that they call the news, but it's just a bloke giving his opinion. Like the O'Reilly Factor or Hannity or something like that. They're not really news. News is delivering the news. News is meant to be impartial. And we've sort of moved away from that in the society now, where news is just people giving their opinions. And what, you know, you should just be given the facts. Yeah.
Well, most of the news, TV news, is the Washington Post came up with this story. Now we're going to comment on it. But they don't have their own real reporters out in the field digging up their own. So like,
not anymore. I like local news.
Yeah,
I like that's the stuff that I watch now, and I love it because I travel the world. I like to tune into and we've got a fair down the road, and there's someone. I like Australian news because there's no real guns and killing and stuff like that. So that when I've been living here for a long time, the news is just so mundane. You go over there and they're like, Steve lost his bike. And you're like, fuck, and everyone's, I know, Steve. And then the late night news is like this: found Steve's bike, everyone. Oh, good.
Relief, a country can sleep now.
I really was there. I was there last time, and the news story was I was in Cairns, which is like where the reef is, and the news story while we were there in Cairns was a bottle shop was like a liquor store, was held up by a man holding a bottle. So the guy went into the liquor store, got a bottle of wine, and said, give me all your fucking money or I'll smash you over the head with this bottle of wine. Yeah. Like he got his weapon from the store he was robbing. And then like over the course of the days, I saw like 3 days later the bottle had fingerprints on it, and it was just a big ongoing case. But yeah, so the big difference between me from my show and all those other shows is it's me. That's the big difference.
Yeah, that's it.
I think I have a quality that for doing the news that will be more interesting in the sense that they tested the show. We did a pilot. The pilot turned out fine. And they tested the show. And the one thing that came back from everyone was they don't like me wearing a suit. I looked extremely uncomfortable wearing a suit. Like everyone sees me as such a fucking sloppy guy. Yeah. They're like, if he wears a tie, we just feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And so that was the big note. Oh, you can't wear a tie. And I'm like, but I want to wear a tie. And they're like, nah, you're not allowed to wear a tie. So I think I have an ability to sort of dumb down intelligent topics or smarten up really dumb things. So hopefully I'll be like the thinking man's idiot or the idiot's thinking man or something like that. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I'll meet everyone in the middle.
Now, you know, because you talked about format change, that the format is kind of similar, but that's true of stand-up too. You go up there, there's a microphone. And instead, I don't know whether like the second guy ever to go up, everybody said, "Oh, you're ripping off the first guy."
This is the thing. They go. This is such a crowded space. So this is, and I'm like, they go, "Why make another comedian talking about the news show?" And it's like, "Why make another fucking sitcom?" Right. Like we made Seinfeld. That was good. Why did we? Why did we continue to do it? And also, it's weird because everyone who's asking me that question is interviewing me. And I just did 8 interviews that fucking day. And I'm like, we have Barbara Walters. What the fuck are you doing?
Now, is this going to be a live show or?
No, we'll record it on day of. No, we have to because I'm not good at reading, and the show's really good at reading. We did a test show yesterday, and I'm getting better at the teleprompt, but I'm a little bit dyslexic, or a lot dyslexic, but I'm getting better. So I sit in my office all day and just like put anything I can read on a teleprompt, and I just sit there trying to read the day's news, you know. But we record like at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, and we have to edit it in time for it to be on TV West Coast. I think this is the first comedy news-based show to film out of LA.
Is that right?
Yeah, all the other shows, Oliver Samantha Bee and Daily Show, all filmed here in New York. And, you know, I got my kid, and I think they even wanted me to do it in New York, but I got my kid and stuff's in LA. I didn't want to move. And so we have to record it at 1 in the afternoon to make it in time. I think we're trying to hide the fact that we're in LA. And, like, because for some reason people don't take LA people seriously. If we talk about news, the only news that people can talk about in LA is celebrity news. Right. And it's like when they gave us the first set designs, I was like, don't put a fucking palm tree in there, because if you put a palm tree in there, people go, oh, they're going to be talking about celebrities.
Yeah. But it is true. Like, you see a palm tree and it almost looks retired. Like, it's a person who really doesn't give a shit. They lived a life and now they're out here in the sun.
But it's even like that. Like Conan, when he used to be in New York, it was like a serious sort of newsy sort of set. And then when he moved out to LA, it was palm trees and shit, and now it's just like a moon. Everything's like a bit happier. I don't know why. You're indoors. You can do whatever you want. You can have a palm tree on a New York set. No one's going to arrest you. Palm trees all around, I say.
Are you going to have any newsmakers on with you, like politicians coming in to sit down?
We're going to have some people come in and sit down. We've interviewed some politicians for the field pieces. In the pilot, we had my buddy Rob O'Neill came in, and I interviewed Rob O'Neill. Rob O'Neill's the guy who shot Bin Laden.
Yeah.
Right, and he's nice. He's a nice fella. I'll tell you how I met Rob O'Neill. Right, Rob O'Neill, the guy who did some of my photos a while back. He was taking photos and he said, "Oh, who's your favourite musician?" Who's like trying to make him feel comfortable. Who's your favourite comedian? And he goes, Jim Jefferies. And he goes, I know Jim Jefferies. Do you want to meet him? So the guy brings me up and he goes, the guy who shot Bin Laden wants to meet you. and he goes, and I felt weird about meeting him one-on-one. And I said, I'm having a party on Saturday. Tell him to come to my party. Now, I wasn't having a party, right? And so what I did was I rang up like 12. I said, it's just a little gathering around, like 12 friends. And I go, all right, the guy who shot Bin Laden's going to come. You should come over. We'll have a barbecue. So I set up this barbecue at my house. This is about 2 years ago. I set up this barbecue at my house and I'm like, okay, so a few of the SEAL Team 6 were coming over. A few of his buddies as well were coming over. And I assumed we weren't allowed to talk about it. Like this would be a thing that they're not allowed to talk about. So I gathered all my friends, the people who didn't know why they'd come over to the house, and said, look, here's the deal. The guy who shot Bin Laden's coming over to the house, but you can't say anything. It's a big secret, but just know the guy who shot Bin Laden is going to be over here, right? And everyone's like, yeah, fuck yeah, no, I won't say anything, right? So these big, muscular sort of Navy SEAL guys show up, and then this sort of balding ginger guy shows up with this really hot 22-year-old, and I'm like, that's probably the guy who shot Bin Laden. Like, that's got to be a great pickup line at any bar. Like, he was dating well out of his league. Yeah. So I was like, all right, that'd be the guy who shot Bin Laden. So he's standing there. Right, I'm like flipping at hamburger patties or something like that, and he comes and walks up to me, and I go, and he goes, oh, hello, Jim, and I said, look, I haven't told anyone at the party, but I know who you are, and I just want to thank you for your service, and just it's really great meeting you, and I promise that I won't tell anyone what you've done. And then he said so loudly, what, that I killed Bin Laden? And then he couldn't fucking shut up about it. For the rest of the party, I'd be walking out, and then he's like, and then I went up the stairs.
Yeah, he's riding that wave for a long time now.
No, he's not even Navy SEAL anymore. He's a Fox correspondent. He's a fun guy.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, because you go out with other, like, I've been out with a few of the SEAL Team 6 guys, and when you're out drinking, I'm not the type of person to get into fights. I'm a walk-away sort of guy if a confrontation gets to me, but all of a sudden, when you're out with 3 members of SEAL Team 6, someone bumps into you, you're like, want to fucking go, buddy?
Now, the thing about you talking, I saw you on Bill Maher not too long ago, and with Piers.
Yeah, me and Piers, yeah.
It looks like you laid into him pretty hard for TV.
The problem is now, is if I talk about Piers Morgan, one of you will tweet that I talked about, or anyone listening will tweet that I talked about Piers Morgan, then Piers Morgan will pipe up again, oh, this guy needs to get press off me all the time. he took credit, Piers Morgan took credit for me getting my TV show because I told him to fuck off on television. Yeah. And the reality is the pilot had already been filmed 2 months ago, and I already knew the announcement was coming, but I just had to be quiet. And then like the next day they announced, because that's how television works.
Right. Right.
You tell Piers Morgan to fuck off, and then Comedy Central, a show given. You know what I mean?
So they loved it. Comedy Central loved that you did that.
I don't know if they loved it. It was, okay, what happens is me and Piers Morgan haven't liked each other for a very long time. And we're both, weirdly enough, I think he never liked me because I had a gun control routine that did very well. And he was the anti-gun foreign guy, and I think he got a little jealous that I took a bit of his thunder because he was the anti-gun foreign fella. And so anyway, a few times one time when I was very drunk, took a few digs at Piers Morgan because he's very easy to bait on the internet. Now I hate internet trolls, but Piers Morgan's a different animal, you know. And so I went after Piers and just baited him a bit until he lost his fucking shit. And so that happened. And then I did it again, and then you know, it was always weird how I feel like me and Pierce have very similar political views, but then he sucks up to Trump just because he was on the Celebrity Apprentice. You know, he's always sucking up. He'll defend anything, you know. Anyway, so I didn't know that I was on the show with Piers Morgan, and I sent out a tweet the day I was doing Bill Maher that was, hey, I'm going to be on the Bill Maher show today. Tune in on HBO at whatever time it's on, you know. And then he sent me a message that said, I'll be sitting 5 feet away from you. Bring your A game. And so this wasn't a spare of the moment thing. Right. That whole afternoon, I was like, if that cunt gives me a window. You know what I mean? Like I was looking for a fight, you know, and so I sat there and I thought, if I get a chance, and then he gave me a window and I fucking went to town on him. And the weird thing about it was he was probably winning the fight, but then I teased. I was being childish. I was yelling at him, talking over the top of him. It wasn't a real great discussion from me. But then he did something stupid that you should never do to a comedian. So he went, okay, you're losing your audience here, Jim. I know when I've got the audience or not. Or every comedian knows that. I said, so am I really? And then they all clapped, and then it's like he lost all of his power.
Yeah, he was crushed.
But afterwards, I put my arm around him and I took a photo for, you know, after the show, and I said, bit of fun, isn't it, Piers, you know? And then he didn't show up. He didn't show up for the drinks afterwards. He didn't want to be in the same room as me. So I'm going to put it out here. You're more than welcome to come on my show, Piers, if you'd like to come on, and we'll chat again and we'll go an extra round, you know? But
it's not like you guys disagree politically. You kind of disagree personally.
We don't disagree politically at all. I just think he's a cunt and he doesn't like me. It's purely personal. I think we're one of the few people. If we just talk politics, we'd probably get along. I just find him just a fucking dirtbag. It's just he's such an awkward guy to be around. He just.
But see,
he just has a face that you wouldn't get bored of punching. You know what I mean?
But this is the thing. You don't mind if you have enemies, right? It doesn't bother.
I mind if I bump into them.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't particularly care. No.
Yeah.
No. But it is that weird thing when you're a comedian. You say a few. You know, I'm sure like David Spade used to say so much on SNL that like every time he went to a celebrity party, he must have been just hiding in the bathroom. You know. But it is that weird thing when you bump into a person that you've said a joke about. And I did an interview. I interviewed Brad Pitt the other day. Mm-hmm. For Netflix, got me to interview Brad Pitt, right? But I did a joke about him buying his children way back in one of my stand-up routines about him buying his kids. And he didn't seem to mind, but I was cautious.
Because you know, your stuff never goes away because you record all these specials and albums. Your stuff really, like a lot of people that are doing stand-ups in the clubs, it comes up, it's dropped, that's it. Your stuff's a little more permanent.
It sort of sticks with you forever, and people, I don't think they do this with music, but they definitely do it with stand-up. People don't like you growing up. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that I recorded in my early 20s, and I'm just talking about drugs and fucking one-night stands and fucking, you know what I mean? That's sort of not the guy I am anymore because I'm just older and I can't handle drugs as much and women don't find me as attractive. You know what I mean? But there's the fans that that I used to like him more when he was shoving sex toys up his ass, right? And you're like, well, I've had hemorrhoid surgery since then. So those days are over.
Oh no, someone yells. Oh no.
Yeah, no, I tell you, I have. That was one of the weird, because they lay you sort of like in a massage table, so your head's in a hole, and they give you the anesthesia, and you're on a sort of triangular pillow with your ass as high as possible. They went right in there.
Yeah.
Like I had a varicose vein running up my asshole, and the last thing that I remember was one of the nurses, as I was going under, she went, "My boyfriend's a big fan of boom." And so there's no way, like if she was a big fan, there's a chance she would have kept it to herself, but of course she's telling her boyfriend. You know that guy?
There's a selfie somewhere with your asshole and her. She's just like...
I'm gonna. This is the last name drop I do, but I'm friends with Russell Crowe, and he said, because all us Australians know each other, but he said to me, that when he has surgery, he has to have one of his friends stand in the room so that doesn't happen, because of course, you know, this whole idea that a doctor will never tell anyone about you. What's the fucking chances?
Right.
Of course they're going to tell. I would. There's no special oath. Like what happens if someone tells another person, you go, but you took an oath, and they're like, ah. It's like priests. You can go in there and say anything to them, and they'll never tell anyone. Yeah, because like none of them have ever fucked kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like these seem to be pretty fucking honest sort of people.
Yeah. They all drink too, so who knows?
I said none of them. I didn't say all of them are fucking. The way that you just groaned is like I said all of them are fucking. No, some of them have definitely fucked kids.
I don't think this show's going to be too controversial that you're doing for Comedy Central.
That's a fact, right?
But a lot of, like you said, that stuff ends up sticking to you for years, like something that you said years before, and it makes it difficult to get away.
But that's the whole thing. Like the Beatles do "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and then by the end they're singing, you know, Blackbird or Revolution or the White Album or something like that, and everyone goes, "Well, that was a natural progression." But with a comedian, it seems like all of your jokes should be around you for any age that you live.
It's almost like a politician, whatever they said when they were younger, follows them. The same is true.
Oh, I even stick up for Trump when they say, "Oh, he said something stupid on the Stern Show or something." I used to do Opie and Anthony so much, and the shit I said on that show. Yeah, I once went into that show. Oh, I'm talking 7 years ago, but I was plastered on ecstasy. Like not a little bit, and being very lewd with a porn star on there. Like I can't run for any government. Like these like never. And I find it so weird because it was hard for me to get in to the building because my real second name, Jefferies, is a middle name, right? Jim Jefferies, I use my middle name. My real last name is Nugent, which is weird because I could be like the anti-gun Nugent. I think we need one, but I changed it. So every time I get down to this office, they're always like, "We need to see ID," and then they go, "We don't have this name," and I go, "Well, I'm Jim Jefferies," and they go, "Do you have anything official that says that?" And then I just sort of Google myself on my phone. I go, like, "Here's like 1,000 pictures." And they're like, "Yeah, we need something official." Yeah, because that's what I did, just to trick you. I made 7 comedy specials and put them online just so I could get through your special fucking barrier, right? Now it turns out that I'm more charming on ecstasy because I bullshitted my way in with 7 people I met at the club on ecstasy, and I got upstairs. In fact, Roland who books it, Roland just let us all in. It's mayhem.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is mayhem. But that is the weird thing about that too, is that this building, celebrities come in here and they still have to show ID. I did an interview one time with David Crosby, and he wouldn't take off his sunglasses for them, and they're calling upstairs saying, "We're not letting this guy up." And I'm like, "It's David Crosby from the Byrds. He's been a fucking celebrity since 1965. Let him up the goddamn. He's not going to hurt anybody. Well,
the lady downstairs even said to me, she goes, "Oh, I know you've been here before. I've met you before, but what are we doing here?"
Yeah.
Like, even if we're at the airport, you should be able to. I had a guy at customs the other day just fucking who knew I was lying.
Yeah.
Just knew it. Because, like, I try not to lie in my life, but there's certain times.
Yeah.
Custom forms. Have you ever taken drugs? No. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, where you have to lie, you know. And so I'm going into Canada, and I was doing like 3 shows, and I didn't get a work visa for those shows sorted out in time. So I just went into Canada. I was like, I'm here on personal reasons. And the guy behind the counter's like, okay, so you're here for personal reasons? What would that personal reason be? And I always, because I'm only there for like 2 days, I always go, bachelor party. My friend's having their bachelor party because that's where everyone fucking has one, Winnipeg. Right? and I'm like, I'm here for a bachelor party. He goes, okay, no problem. Looking forward to the show tomorrow, Jim.
Yeah.
And he just stamps me and lets me through it. I'm like, all right, well, he just knew I was a liar.
Sure. But Australians, you guys do have this reputation for traveling freely. Everywhere I go, there's Australians.
There's only 20 million Australians. There's 7 million people on the planet. There's 330 million Americans. And I bump into, like they can say, like, the Jews run Hollywood or something like that. No, Australians run Hollywood. Australians run it. Like, for only 20 million people, every second actor is Australian. Like, I reckon we literally take up 30% of all actors on your television are Australian people doing voices. And we're only 20 million people.
Well, what they say one of the reasons why is because Australians look as masculine as Americans used to look. So that's why they pick Australian.
Is that what you're saying about Nicole Kidman? because a lot I was including females in this, you know.
Yeah.
You got your Margot Robbie, Naomi Watts, what's the name? The one that's married to Sacha Baron Cohen, Isla Fisher.
Yeah.
They're all Australians.
All Australians.
And the man is, you know, goes back to Mel Gibson. But that was the weird thing about Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson moved to Australia when he was 3 or 4, and his father was American. And then he went through NIDA, which is the National Institute of Dramatic Art, because Australia puts a lot of money into the arts because we have nothing. Culturally, we have nothing, right? Like there's a British joke, which is, what's the difference between Australia and yogurt? Yoga has culture in it, right? So Australia tries to make things more like, here's things, you're a painter, here's a grand, here's, like, we really try to make this. So Mel Gibson went through the top acting school there. He actually was roommates with Jeffrey Rush. And the two of them, Jeffrey Rush took 20 years to make it, and you just watched his roommate just fucking go through it. Anyway, so Mel Gibson, we always like, he's Australian. And for years and years, I've been hearing this, no. Mel Gibson is an American actor. He's American. I go, he was in Gallipoli and Mad Max. He's definitely Australian. So he's an American, he's American. Then he says the N-word, and the news went, Australian actor Mel Gibson. And that was the first time I'd heard him referred to as an Australian actor again. Now I'm like, no, he's American now. He's American.
Well, I saw the documentary on Heath Ledger, and they brought up the fact that Australians, once you start to make it, they want to cut you down a little bit. They don't like the idea.
Yeah, I did. You know, this is going to sound really arrogant, but I'm arguably the biggest Australian stand-up comedian, just like to break America, that no other Australian comic really broke America or played big rooms or anything like that. And I go back to Australia and I do like 10,000 seat venues, like basketball stadiums and stuff like that, and I still can't get on the fucking TV over there. I still can't get interviewed or anything. I think the Australian media is a little bit ashamed of me because I'm so synonymous with swearing and the word cunt that the Australian public are just like, oh, we don't say that here. Oh, well, why is it so easy for me to fucking say? You know, I got to give Comedy Central credit that the tagline for my show is grabbing late night by the country. And like, we all know what they mean. I thought there was the pussy grabbing overtones, and there was a little bit of cunt in there, and good for you, Comedy Central. But I don't say that word as much as people think every time after I do a gig, people are always like, "Oh, me and my friends had a pool, and how many times?" Like basically a cunt count, you know?
Yeah.
And people always guess like 80 times. It's always like 9 times in an hour and a half. It's not
very little. I mean, I'll just ask people here. What do we think? 14 so far? Higher than 14?
Yeah, I've probably said it 10 times in the show.
But remember, I would say 10 times talking about Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan is basically the same word.
But in your mind now, do you feel Australian or do you feel American?
It's strangely okay. So I'll become an American citizen as soon as I can. I love that my son's American and Australian. I got him an Australian passport as quickly as possible, so he's a dual citizen. I'm an Australian, and this is going to sound really weird, who lives in America and who feels British.
Yeah.
I feel British because I lived in the UK for almost 10 years. I lived in London, a little bit in Manchester. I feel like I'm a pale guy who doesn't like the sun. I'm happy when it rains. I like dingy little bars and pints of lager, and that's sort of... And my music taste sort of from the 90s was all Blur and Oasis and the Stone Roses and all that sort of Manchester music that came out. And so I feel my sensibilities British, and I'm a moaner as well. I'm always bitching and moaning, and so I feel like you'd probably be better off if you were to cast me in a movie. You'd probably put me as British before you'd put me as Australian, because I've been to casting calls where they go, "We want an Australian guy," and everyone else has like sandy blonde hair and they're tanned and what you picture an Australian being. I don't think I look like what people think of as Australian. Incidentally, I was basically offered a role in a movie coming up, and I couldn't take it because I was doing the show, and I never get offered movie parts. But it was like the young Robin Hood coming up, and they've got like the kid from The Kingsman playing Robin Hood. I think Jamie Foxx is there. I heard like Benito del Toro is going to play like the villain or something, like the sheriff of Nottingham and all that type of stuff. And then I'm like, wow, young Robin Hood is going to have a $200 million movie. And I go, who would I be? And they go, Friar Tuck. And I'm like, one of the ugliest characters in cinematic history. And they're like, no, but the young Friar Tuck. And so that was. Now I don't know if I just blew a big Hollywood secret there. I did something on Opie and Anthony back in the day. I did something wrong that still haunts me to this day. That just a sentence that I said, so I might have just done it again. I had a sitcom for a very little while that no one saw on FX and called Legit. And in Legit, there was Carrie Fisher was on an episode. So I got to spend a day with Carrie Fisher. And Carrie Fisher was like dieting and in different ways, if I can remember. And I was chatting to her, and she was like, "Oh, I got to lose so much weight because my next job, I got to be a princess again." And like her next job was being Princess Leia. And we talked about Star Wars and all this type of stuff. And so like a few weeks later, I'm on the Opie and Anthony show, and they go, "How was working with Carrie Fisher?" I go, "Oh, we just sat there and talked about how she's in the next Star Wars." And then if you Google this, Jim Jefferies tells world that fucking Carrie Fisher is in the new Star Wars. And this was meant to be a big reveal that they were going to have a press conference, and I fucking ruined Star Wars. And this is the weird thing that I didn't see Carrie after that, and I lived in fear about bumping into Carrie Fisher, and thank God I don't have to do that again.
Yeah, right. So you got away with it.
You know, I knew if I just waited long enough, I'd be fine. But she was a very nice lady. I feel terrible about that. But, you know, I didn't think that Gary the dog would outlive her, to be honest. That was the dog she took everywhere.
Yeah. That dog's still doing well.
It was Gary and Carrie. It was, she was a very nice lady. She said to me once, what happened was I was on Kimmel and I complained about my mother got deep vein thrombosis, which is the disease where you can't, the condition where you sit in economy for 24 hours and you get blood clots in your legs, right? But my mother got it on a luxury cruise. And I'm like, it's all right for people in economy, but how do you get it on a luxury cruise? Like, how little do you have to move to get blood clots in your legs? Anyway, so I did this whole thing about my mother. My mother sees the show and she rings me up and she's so upset and she goes, "You need to go back on the Jimmy Kimmel show and tell the American public that you're a liar." And I said, "How am I a liar?" He goes, "I didn't get deep vein thrombosis on the boat. I got diagnosed on the boat. I got deep vein thrombosis at home." Right? And I said, "Well, that's even worse." And so anyway, so I thought, oh, this is great. So the next time on the show, like a year later, I'm like, "My mother said I have to tell the American public I'm a liar." And so I did it. So I did that like the night before, and then I was on set, and Carrie Fisher was there, and I tell her this story, and she goes, "Oh, your mother sounds exactly like my mother." And I'm like, "Are you comparing my mother to Debbie Reynolds?" No, not the same at all. Her mum was still doing shows where she was dancing around a bit. My mum was literally laying in a lazy boy for 40 years until she got blood clots in her legs. Not the same.
Now, what does your family think about everything that's happened with you?
My parents were very against me getting into stand-up comedy when I first did it. My father enjoys it a little bit more than my mother, but as I said, my mother doesn't really move anymore, so her whole life is just, she has Google alerts on me. So she will actually, so every single thing, so I avoid the internet like the plague. I avoid it because I don't want to see negativity, and and it just can get you down. Like a little bit of it doesn't bother you, but just the constant barrage, So I try not to read any of the comments or anything like that. And my mother will ring me up and go, "Oh, I heard you had a bad show on Thursday." And I'm like, "I didn't think it was a bad show. Some of the people were disappointed." Can you stop? So she'll remind me of everything shit I do, and she's not allowed to come and see my shows. But I bought my parents' Mercedes. That was like the first sort of thing, and I went home to Australia, and it was like $80,000 car, and I drove my dad down. And I said, "Oh, I just want to stop and have a look at this car, blah, blah." And then he had the car, and it had a sheet over it and his name on a little like stand-up plaque thing. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Hello, Gary." And Dad's like, "How do they know my name?" And they pull the sheet off, and I was like, "That's your car, Dad." And he almost cried. And then my mum, I come home, she goes, "You got your father an $80,000 car. You never buy me anything." And I go, "You don't fucking move. I got you the best TV you can get. I got you a walker. If you want an $80,000 throne, I'll get you an $80,000 throne, but I feel like I've just spent everything that you can be spent on." And so I said, "Plus, Dad will be driving you to your doctor's visits in the car, so it's your car as well." And she's like, "Fine, then I want a key as well." And I'm like, but you can't drive. Why do you need a key as well? And she goes, "What if there's emergency?" Okay, so what is this scenario where Dad's driving you and he faints and there's a bushfire and only you can save the day? But as Dad fainted, he threw his key out the window, and only you with your new key can save the day. Like, what is this? When is this happening? You know what it is? And she also went on eBay and she bought like a really big Mercedes keyring with the logo. And she carries the key around with her. And she's not allowed, they took her license away from her. She's not allowed to drive. But she carries this key around her so that when she's at the pharmacy and she's getting her prescription, she can go, "Oh, there's so many things in this bag here." Oh, and then she can just dump the key in front of her, like, and go, boom, Mercedes. Like, she's one of those people that she thinks she's fancy. We're very working class, and my mother would love to have been a fancy lady. She would have loved to have been highfalutin, but we were painfully working class.
Yeah. And I think that is why people don't want to see you in the suit. I think you still carry that around. I
don't think you lose that. I don't. Yeah, even when you get money, I still. Like, my house is, like, decorated with shit furniture. Nothing. I don't know how people do that, because every time I got a bit of money, I'm like, I'll buy a new chair. And then you have to decorate a house at once.
Right.
You can't do it bit by bit. Because I'm like, I bought the best table, and then there's the best couch over there and the best seats, but they're all bought 6 months apart, and they don't match up. And my house is very disappointing.
But maybe that is what connects you to your audience. Maybe
I think there's something about being a working class hero or something, like John Lennon said. I think there's something about I like, new money are the best people at a party. Old money are a bunch of cunts. Right. Like
one more, everybody.
People who grow up, and that's what I look at my son like that. Like, I love him, but he's going to be such a cunt. But he can't help it. He's going to go to really good schools and meet other cunts.
And fit in, like all kids,
and then go, these are my people, and then they're going to be a bunch of cunts. Like there's no way around. At the moment, I'll tell you what happened at my school. My kids' preschool, they want to have like a fundraiser, which I don't know why, because we're all paying for it.
Yes, right.
Like, if you put a kid through a private school, you pay all this money, and then they go, hey, and can they also sell some fucking cookies or something to raise money for what? Just bump the price up. If we're not giving you enough to make the school work, then you're not charging enough money. There shouldn't be the fee, then some, all the other parents are doing, well, they're fucking idiots then. Because I'm working really hard to pay for so they do these things. So they wanted to have a fundraiser. And they go to me, they go, can you perform at the fundraiser? And I felt like going, well, how much money will I raise? Can I just donate that money and not come?
Right.
Because that would be a lot easier for me, and then everyone could stop bothering me, And so they're like, and they go, and I also, plus my comedy so particular, I don't know if I want the other parents to see what I do. I don't want to go down there and go, I said cunt 1,000 times, And so they're like, oh, well, look, it wouldn't be hard. You'd just be doing 10 minutes. You'd be the opening act. And then I got offended, like, what? Did you just say I'd be the opening act for your fucking fundraiser at your school? I'm the opening act. I said, what's the closing fucking act? And they go, Daft Punk? And I'm like, oh, they are a big group.
Yeah, you don't want to follow them.
Yeah, I don't want to follow them. They're a hard act to follow. Now, but here's the weird thing. So obviously, my kid goes to school with one of the Daft Punk kids. And I don't know which dad's the fucking Daft Punk dad, because he doesn't wear his helmet to school. Yeah, there's a few like celebrity kids there. Yeah. It's a weird sort of thing. There's one particular very, very, I don't want to say who it is because it's not nice of me to say who's going. But there's one particular, like a famous movie star, stand-up comedian from the 70s, like kid that goes there. And the dad, I'm a huge fan of this guy's dad. And my son it's the daughter. A huge fan of. My son gets along with almost every kid except for that fucking kid. Right. And I'm like, why don't you get along with that kid? And my son's like, don't like her. And I'm like, but Dad wants to go to her birthday party. I'll tell you off air who it was.
I got a fairly good idea. But, it's funny because you're bringing this up with your show, of course, the Jim Jefferies show, and you're going to be current events. And just as we're recording this, everyone is mad at Kathy Griffin because, she held up the Trump head, and they claim Trump's kid saw that, thought Barron? Barron, yeah. And he thought his dad's head was cut off on TV.
Well, then Barron's not very bright. Look, far, like, what is he, 11?
Yeah, he's 11.
Not 4.
Yeah.
He's 11. Look, okay, maybe in 4 years, towards the end of the presidency, we can start ripping into Barron when he's 15, because that seems like an age you can start saying things.
Yeah.
But like at 11, we really can't say anything about Barron. But let's be honest here. Trump produces two types of kids. Donald Jr. and Ivanka are those sort of maniacal, I'm going to rule the world, very switched on, intelligent. And then there's Eric. And like Tiffany, who knows what she's like? No one's talked to her for 5 seconds, right? Including Donald. And you just know that in the White House there's like fucking like Donald and Ivanka in the corner playing a game of Risk, saying how they're going to take over the world. And in the other corner, Eric and Barron are rolling a ball to each other.
By the way, the Jim Jefferies show is going to be fucking great. I can just tell that this.
Like that's not very nice. I'm not gonna pass judgment on Barron for a few more years, but in 4 years he's open to the public. He thought his dad's kid was going. What do you think about Kathy Griffin doing this thing? Look, I'm happy for her that she made it as far as she did with her level of talent. I didn't for a second think she'd make it this far, and I'm amazed this is the way how it ended. I think she should be happy that it didn't just fade away like we all thought it would. And also, everyone's like, CNN have stopped her from working from a gig that's 1 day a year?
Yeah.
What is she, fucking Santa?
Right. It's 1 day a year, and the one day that every comic can get booked, New Year's Eve. It's like she won't be able to work that day.
She'll get a gig. In fact, there'll be some other network that will just offer, like, we're the edgy station who will have Kathy Griffin.
Yeah.
But she won't be doing it with what's his name?
Anderson Cooper.
I love Anderson Cooper.
Yeah.
If I was gay, he's my first stop. Anderson Cooper. I just like him because he would tell me things and educate me. In bed, he'd be like, Jim, your opinions are really bad. And I go, why, Anderson, why?
Now, is that a guy you'd have on your show and talk?
Oh, I'd love to have Anderson. I think Anderson Cooper's the shit. There's just something about the guy that's so likable. And even just when he said the other day, like, take a dump on the desk, like, and also like the eye rolls, just like, he's just. I like him and Dom Lemon.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is every now and again you hear it and you're like, they're talking about John Lennon. And you're like, oh no, it's Dom Lemon. Like it sounds like a bad Beatles tribute act.
Now, do you have a dream guest, somebody that you would love to have on? Is there a list of people?
Oh, jeez, I haven't even thought about that. That's a weird thing, like a dream guest. He'd probably, like, the president. Yeah. Probably, I'd love to have the president on. Or whoever is the chief of staff from week to week. Right. Comey would be great. Yeah. Comey would be fantastic because he's just, like, there's a movie coming out summer 2018 called Comey. There's no fucking way about it. There's no way around it because he really did cost Hillary the election, whether you agree with what he did or didn't. But like that last little email dump was the thing that tipped it over. And then he fucking was about to cost Trump the presidency. And then he got fired. Like, this guy has done more in history in a couple of months than... fucking anyone. Right. But doesn't it all feels like broken ice too, doesn't it? It felt like for the last year the ice has been cracking and we have no idea. I mean, the fact that you're doing this show now, there's no other time in history that I think... I'm doing the Daily Show tonight. I was going to talk about, like, can you name another time in history where we knew every member of the cabinet? No, it's amazing, Like with Obama, I knew, like, the president, the vice president, and the secretary of defense, and it was pretty much... I didn't know who was the spicer role. There was a couple of people who did it, right? But like everyone knows Spicer. Spicer he's amazing TV. I love him.
Yeah.
Because I think that he would be like, he would do that job for, what's he, press secretary?
Right.
He would do that job for a Democrat or a Republican. It's just the job he wanted. Right?
Yeah.
And then he's got the job, and now he's just got an ulcer, and he's just like, fuck. And he gets handed like blatant lies sometimes.
Sure.
And they just go out and lie for a spicy, and he's just like the time that he said it was the most attended inauguration. It wasn't.
Right.
And there's no shame in that. You're not going to get more people attending it than the first black president. That was such an historical thing, and it was a beautiful summer's day. And then we go back to another white guy on a rainy day, and you want to argue that it's more people. Like, there's no shame in, sure. You can say it was a pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no shame in that. Why did you? And then it's like Spicy just go out and say that it was the biggest turnout. And he goes, but it's obvious from the photos. Well, just say it. And he's like, all right, boss, I'm in.
I see him working like after this, like for the tobacco industry or something. I mean, he's just amazing.
I don't fundamentally think he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
I just want him to, like, if I ever get married, I want him to officiate my wedding. I just want him just to be like, will you take this lawfully wedded Holocaust? Shit! Just cough up a bit of blood on his shirt.
So where do you see it go? How do you see Trump playing out? Is he going to be able to...
I don't believe... we're going to do an episode on impeachment, not the impeachment of Trump, on just what is impeachment, because I was getting a bit sick and tired of every dinner party I went to, he'll be impeached. And people just love saying it. And in the news, like, we have a machine that sort of counts up every time something in the news was said. And the word impeachment in 1 week was said like 3,000 times by news channels, right? Like, a lot. Every hour is just impeachment. And it's really hard to impeach someone. Like, they go, Clinton was impeached, but not till he was kicked out of office. No one's ever gone through the full thing. And there's people who've done some, like Nixon would have been impeached, but mostly they just quit. So this whole he'll be impeached, history says no. We've got a far better chance of him just eating too much KFC.
Right.
Like, that is a substantially better chance of him getting out of the White House than being impeached. But maybe he's the first guy that can happen, because I feel like he's got such an ego. He's the type of guy that would have just stood on the Titanic going, this boat's awesome.
The thing is, this is a little too close to the way we're living right now for me to even feel comfortable with that joke. Because it does feel...
But it's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah, it has been.
I'm glad I'm living in this time. It's like he's you got to give it to him. He is going through with his promises. Like every other politician does his promises. Whether you like him or not, I don't like his promises. But he's a man of his word.
Yeah.
He's coming in, fucking building more, doing everything but the tax cuts for the rich. When the fuck is he going to do that? That was the bit that I was like, after the election, I was like, all right, then that'll be good.
Yeah, right. 15%.
He's not doing that.
Yeah.
He's ducking out of the Paris Agreement now, and whether he will or he won't, but it sounds like he's going to do that in the next couple of days. And that's,
I think as we're recording it, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. He'll decide. So we're about an hour and a half away from where he decides whether we're in or out of that.
Yeah, he should be in that one.
Yeah.
That's like, you can't have a guy like him saying, climate change is a hoax, and then having scientists say, nah, it's not a hoax, and him just going, I reckon it is. You know what I mean? Like that famous clip of him saying that once they took CFCs out of hairspray wasn't good anymore. He goes, I've had people tell me that if I'm spraying it on my hair, it affects the ozone layer, but I'm in my apartment. And that's an enclosed area, right? And you're like, no, that's not how it... And like, we know there's a hole in the ozone layer. That's not a myth. The hole's over Australia. That's why Australia has... the number one killer is skin cancer. And that's why Australian Australian people after 30 look horrible. If you're going to date an Australian girl, get her in her 20s and move her out to Britain. It doesn't. And the men as well. But I was lucky. I got away before the Australian sun really fucking got to me. It's a harsh country.
But when you said the reef, is that damaged now?
The reef's dying.
Yeah.
The reef's gone through 3 bleaching episodes, and the other ones have been attached to El Niños, and that's why. Because if the water temperature goes up by 1 degree, that'll bleach the reef. Now, this is the clearest sign in the world. The Great Barrier Reef, one of the 7 wonders, natural wonders of the world, is the clearest sign on Earth that global warming is definitely happening. It's not a rumor, because that reef has been there for thousands of years, and now it is 80% dead, and that all happened in the last 18 months. It happened that rapidly because the temperature went up by 1 degree. And a lot of people are like, yeah, it's dead, but it's going to come back. Dead things don't come back. In fact, I miss my grandmother. I'm not expecting to see her again.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they don't come back now, or some new coral will grow, but it takes a long time. And I hope they're right and I'm wrong. I hope we don't lose these things in the world. But I went scuba diving over what was just fucking dead coral. Now the weird thing is, the tourism industry in Australia is saying, oh, it's dying, but it's not as bad as the scientists say. But tourism for the Great Barrier Reef is through the roof. Like, there's just people are going there because it's see it while it lasts. It's like it's going out of business sale, So everyone's just showing up, swimming. Like, the good thing is you can step on it now.
Right, you couldn't do that before.
I tell you, that's the one thing I find weird about the show is now I have to interview a lot of people. And I've never been an interviewer before when we do these field pieces. And to be honest, what you're really trying to do is you're really trying to stitch people up. You're trying to make them slip up in the interview and say something stupid and get a soundbite out of them. And that's not, for me personally, a great feeling. I don't like the idea of tricking people. If you're tricking a bad person, that's fun because if you think they're not a good person, you want to get them to say something stupid, right? But if you think they're fundamentally a good person, you're like, don't. So we had this one guy, and he didn't make the edit of the piece, thank God. But as soon as he said, and this guy he looked like he was a big Aussie bloke. He was the head of tourism of Queensland. He's like, fucking the reef's no good, but we're hoping it'll get better. We're doing everything we can, but still come out. Queensland's a lovely place to visit. And then I said, so what do you think about the Muslim ban in America? He goes, I'll tell you what I think about Muslims. And I thought, I'm about to get something out of him now. And he goes, I was in Saudi Arabia on business, and he goes, they were playing Christmas carols in December. I feel like in many ways they were more tolerant of Christians in Saudi Arabia than we are of Muslims here. And I thought, wow, this guy's a pretty fucking forward-thinking sort of guy. And so then I go, what? Who do you think is killing the reef the most? I said, Mexicans, Muslims, or Asians? And he went, probably Asians. And I went, oh no, no. And I went, oh yeah, why are the Asians? He goes, oh, they're not good swimmers, and they keep kicking at it. And I'm like, and I went, oh, it's probably all the karate. And he went, probably.
Yeah.
And like, I interviewed the guy for an hour and a half, and that was the only moment when he was a little bit, and I was like, oh no, you poor bastard.
Yeah.
Because you can't be the head of Queensland tourism.
Yeah.
When we're like the main tourists there are Asians, and just go, they're fucking kicking the reef.
But I like new stereotypes anyway. I didn't know that they were bad swimmers. I didn't know the Asians were such awful swimmers.
Do you ever see him win gold at the Olympics?
No, that's true. That is true. There it is, folks. Asians can't swim.
I just can't swim. I never knew that swimming and driving was associated. It's just one straight lane, and one of them makes a turn halfway through.
I'm just worried how long the show's going to last.
Well, the thing is, I can say stupid things. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the good things about what I've cultivated in my early 20s is people go, did you say this horrible thing? And I've gone, I've said way worse shit.
Yeah.
Because that's what Piers Morgan tried to do when everyone was banging on. Because J.K. Rowling's tweeted about how happy she was that I told Piers Morgan to fuck off. And he went, he sent a message to her like, listen to this horrible pedophilic joke that fucking Jim Jefferies said. This is your hero, J.K. Rowling's like that. And a few people were like, oh, that's disgusting. But the majority of the internet went, that's Jim. That's what he does. So people, because I was doing a lot of grabbing by the pussy jokes after that happened, you know.
Yeah.
And then people were like, oh, it was just locker room talk. You've said way worse things. And it's true. I have said way worse things than grabbing by the pussy. And that's why I agree that I shouldn't be president of the United States of America.
Well, we're all going to make sure that happens, Jim. Jim Jefferies, everybody, the new show. Comedy Central, Tuesdays, 10:30. Thank you so much, man. That was great. Thanks, everybody. That was great, buddy.
You all right?
Yeah.